Hey guys, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is a special edition being hosted at the same time as we normally do it, but at a different location. And I'm actually sitting next to these people, which is a different experience.
Both,
Ryan Schraub.
auditorily and olfactory.
Yeah, well, it's not as bad as out there, but it did get kind of bad in here at one point.
But I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Malventano.
Yeah.
Moria's.
We have a live audience with us today. Yay! You know what? I'm really disappointed. The three people that I wanted to show up the most promised to bring us beer. And they said, "Oh, we'll be right back. We're going to get you some beer." I was like, "Oh, that's great." Guess what? They're not here.
They'll probably come stumbling in.
Yeah. So we're here at QuakeCon. We're here at QuakeCon, obviously, because we're going to do our big workshop on Saturday, 12:30. If you are listening to this anywhere else, or if you're sitting here right in front of us, it's 12:30 at the main stage. We have a ton of stuff to give away. PCPer.com/workshop is the place to go, where you can see a list of all of the gear and stuff we are, where's my list here, passing out. It includes, we've got stuff from EVGA to give away, we got stuff from NVIDIA, we got stuff from AMD. Almost anybody you can think of, we will have stuff.
Otterbox?
Almost everybody you can think of will have stuff. But I mean, I think we've got 15 GTX 770s total or something.
That's pretty
to pass
good.
out. Yeah. Somebody asked earlier here about, we had that stack of APUs last year. We had 100 AMD APUs. We do not have 100 AMD APUs this time. So.
No, instead you have about the same amount of money worth in 3 graphics cards.
Yeah, we do have 3 7990s to pass out as well. But we've got prizes coming in from ADATA, AMD, Cooler Master, Corsair, Intermax, EVGA, Galaxy, Gigabyte, G-Skill, Inwin, Kingston, MSI, NVIDIA, PNY, NZXT, OCZ, Patriot, Fantech, Rosewell, Seasonic, Silverstone, Thermaltake, Western Digital, and we have from the QuakeCon group, we have 2 of the raffle tickets. It says for truck, but that's supposed to be for cars.
Truck.
And then we have T-shirts, which people get excited about.
Some of those APUs are running on systems of people in our audience.
So yeah, check that out if you're going to be in the Dallas area, and that should be a lot of fun. But I was gone last week, so you guys did the podcast without me. It was a great vacation away from you. But
You replaced these small children with other small children.
yeah, going on a family vacation with 16 people, it's not as much a vacation as you thought it would be. Like 16 people in one house.
Wouldn't you have rather been doing this podcast?
7 children, 10 or under, 11 or under.
That's a lot of butt wiping.
Well,
Wow.
More than...
yeah. I don't have any kids, so it's not a big deal for me. But let's talk about...
Oh, you enjoy it.
We have some hardware to talk about. I want to get this out of the way before we dive into other random things. Last week, apparently, you talked about the 500 or the Samsung 840 Evo, but you hadn't published a review yet.
We had not yet, but yeah, the NDA wasn't up yet when
So-
we recorded.
Quick reminder: the 840 Evo is different because of what?
An SLC cache. So
Okay. But see, it has an SLC cache that it uses to cache writes,
Yes.
and then it will disperse that to the TLC memory
in the background.
in the background. But in the article, it said that it is TLC memory that acts as SLC. Is that correct?
That's what's cool about it. The dies, it only has TLC dies in it.
Okay.
So they're manufactured just has 8 flash packages inside,
Right.
just like any normal SSD would.
So you have the capability to decide if this is TLC memory or SLC memory.
It's
Or is it
somewhere-
just-
it seems to be when they fab it, they fab a small section of that to act as SLC, but it's the actual process is TLC.
Okay.
But then when it goes to write to that small chunk of each one of the dies, it's writing it just a high or a low, just a 1 or a 0. Simple as that.
Okay.
So
what's that result in?
it goes really fast for the cache, right? Because it's really high grade flash memory because it has to be able to handle over 1,000 cycles of triple level cell, which is 8 different states. So
Okay.
it's 8 different voltages, high to low, right? And you take that same grade of memory, and then you just go, oh, okay, we're just gonna go high or low. That's it. We're not gonna do anything in between, right? So it can do that very well.
So
obviously.
turbo write speeds are 410 megs per second at 120. Yeah, talking to the mic, he says.
Okay.
To 520 megs per second at 250 and 750. That's the initial burst that you can write at until you fill that cache.
Yes, until the cache is full.
And then if you fill that, if you're doing continuous writing, which is not very often. Is that fair to say?
For the
average consumer.
amount of that cache, and for the fact that you'd have to write to it at that speed continuous.
Right.
Right. So you'd have to be getting data from somewhere at 520 meg per second.
Okay.
And in the case of the 1 terabyte drive, you'd have to be getting 12 gig worth of it
Okay.
to fill the cache.
Not very likely for anything except extreme, kind of even enterprise cases.
Pretty much, yeah. You'd need like some other RAID or something else off to the side that was giving you a huge throughput.
After it drops off, it goes down in performance. It kind of basically reverts to TLC memory write speeds.
It basically drops to the speed a little bit faster than the old 840,
Okay.
the non-pro 840 that was triple level cell. So your worst case is that it would drop to the speed of the older, the prior revision of that drive.
Okay.
Basically. And then the cache, whatever's in the cache just hangs out there until you're done saturating.
You said when it goes idle, it will write to it?
If it's either
like
idle,
a trim kind of functionality or something?
No, it just fills up. Everything goes to the cache first, and then if you write to it so quickly that the cache just becomes full, then it just stops.
Well, say it doesn't get full. You write 300 megs to it or whatever, 400 megs to it. When does it again copy it over to TLC?
Almost immediately.
It just starts that process as soon as the writing is done.
Yeah, as soon as it stops. Like there was a test we did. I think it's like 1 or 2 pages before the end of the article for cache testing.
Yep.
And I actually did, a sustained maximum speed write to it, and then I stopped, and then I started a stopwatch and just figured, okay, how many seconds does it take? And on average, it takes like about 25 seconds for the 12 gig to flush back to the TLC.
All right.
So it works as hard as it can to dump that. So as long as you're intermittently writing to it at high speed, it'll be able to do that all day long.
All right. I do apologize for people who are watching this after the fact, or anybody who's watching this here. We usually have the capability of showing you the articles while we're talking about them. We don't today because of our kind of mobile setup here in Dallas. So if you're interested in looking at, obviously you need to look at the reviews and stuff like that. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying we don't have the setup to do it. So is this your new best SSD?
Provided they can sell it at the prices they want to sell it at, or anything close, because the 1 terabyte model, first of all, it's kind of crazy that it's available in a 1 terabyte form factor in the first place, right?
Sure.
And then if you look at the internal pictures, when we cracked open the 1 terabyte drive, it's only a 1.8 inch PCB with 8 chips, not 16 chips on it.
1 terabyte MSRP $649.99.
Yeah. So that's 65 cents a gig.
When are these supposed to go on sale? Are they for sale yet?
I'm not sure. Maybe. It's supposed to be soon.
He says as he types in Newegg's search
That's what I would be doing on the podcast.
I don't see it yet.
A40 Evo? No, not yet.
Nothing yet.
They're coming soon, though.
So if they can match or get close to that MSRP, this is probably the best drive.
Yeah,
now.
for anybody, the only disadvantage of that drive compared to the Pro is that, it might be a little bit slower overall if you were going to just really hammer it on write speeds.
Yeah.
But who's going to write that much that often? I mean, I wouldn't even.
Have you seen my
drive.
film collection?
Why is Samsung doing stuff so much better than everybody else right now?
I don't know.
I mean, Intel has money. They have smart people there.
They're not. They're not doing this.
Yeah.
Nothing even close.
They're just innovating and pushing. Because I think a year ago, 8 months ago, people thought SSD market was kind of, it's over. Now it's just plain vanilla. Just get whichever one is least expensive, that's SATA 6 and move on. But, finding new things to do.
Well, it's kind of interesting that Samsung, they had the first kind of decent controller, but it wasn't that fast. And it took them forever to get the 830 out. But then the 830, 840, now what they're doing now, they really are sort of leading the pack.
The 470 was the first decent one from them that actually would ramp up as you gave it higher Q depth and, piled more IOs on it. But again, it wasn't super fast, and the 830 was the first one to really just sort of crush everything. And ever since then, they've just been, they've just been walking all over.
So keep an eye out for availability on that SSD if you're looking for something if you're looking to build a system on it, around it, or upgrade or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
At 65 cents a gig, that's
cheap.
That's cheap.
It's pretty cheap.
And another thing we might do is, one thing that Samsung kept stressing was that their triple level cell might only be rated for like 1,000 write cycles. Which, if you have a 1 terabyte drive, you're going to have to write to that 1,000 times. I mean, that's
sure, that's fine. Yeah,
that's a lot, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant too.
Yeah. However, what I kept hearing during that conference was that it'll actually do much more than 1,000 Its rating is 1,000. Warranty is, they'll like reject a warranty return after 1,000. But
okay.
they can go further than that. They don't just like fail at like 1,200 or something like that.
What
1,001, my drive dries.
put that in perspective? 1,000 versus what was an MLC doing or something
MLC is usually
rated at?
It depends on the nanometer. It depends on the process, but between 5,000 and 3,000, depending.
Okay, so it's a significant jump down.
It is.
It's worth looking into.
But when you're getting drives that are so large for so cheap, and you're only using them in a consumer capacity, it still takes a long time.
Do you need to worry about it if you're getting a 256 gig drive? Right.
That's still a lot
Now
of
you're talking
data.
about 1,000. What was that? 4.
I'm going to try to get a 120 gig drive from them and just do continuous writes to it. Like just really hammer it and just put one test bed off to the side and do that. And then like ideally I would just update every week on the podcast as to what happens and like what the wear is on it.
Yeah.
But it should
Yeah, and
pass
then like
1,000.
skip it across the lake and then arc weld with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of great ideas.
We do.
We never implement them.
It should only take like and thermite.
I implemented that
Yes,
a
you
long
did.
time
You
ago. Matt and I thermited a lot of stuff.
And the Department of Homeland Security decided to
It did not
pay a
exist
visit.
when I did that, I don't think. I don't think that was a thing.
So for the 120 gig drive, you would have to write to it continuously at full speed for a month to hit 1,000 cycles.
Okay.
Now, if you compare that to an average
It's
consumer,
good to
right?
hear that in that context, because if you hear, oh, you can only write to these these flash cells
Like
1,000 times.
24/7 for
really?
a month at full speed. Where are you going to get that?
It sounds like something you would have to worry about, but not many others.
Maybe me, but I'm not that crazy.
Let's see, what else posted up? Ken actually wrote an article on the promised Pegasus J2 Thunderbolt SSD. This is a totally different type of product. This is an external Thunderbolt SSD, and what's interesting about it is that the internals are 2 mSATA SSDs, each sitting behind an ASMedia 1061 PCI Express SATA 6G controller. But it uses software RAID to do that. Is that right, Ken?
Yeah.
So there's
From Pegasus.
from Pegasus. Yeah, so there's no hardware RAID controller on the drive.
So this thing shows up as 2 devices, and then you have to install a driver.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shows up as 2 devices, and you have to install a driver on Windows.
That's not like an accident waiting to
Mac
happen or
too?
anything.
Yeah, install it on Mac too.
What could ever go wrong?
Well, Mac, I think it handles everything.
Oh yeah, Mac has a
Natively.
native software RAID thing that you could just use.
Yeah.
You could do software RAID through Windows as well. If
The
you
other
wanted to.
interesting thing about it, though, is that it has 2 performance modes. So if you connect it just through the Thunderbolt cable, it actually runs at, what would we say, half speed, third speed, something like that. We're looking at 248 megs read, 137 megs write. But it has a USB connection on the back of it, and if you plug that in for power, it improves performance. I don't
It's
know.
not a USB connection.
What is it?
It's a power connection.
It's actually a power connection? Okay. So what that does, I'm not exactly sure, but performance jumps to, where are we at here? 605 megs write and 710 megs read.
Yeah, because the Phison controllers are
over-
kind of power hungry.
So is it downclocking those controllers when it's only connected through Thunderbolt?
Probably.
Because it's obviously has to run both, because both SSDs still have to be accessed. It's a very odd solution. A use case for this could be, if you are a professional, you have an external Thunderbolt device here that is there most of the time. The capacity on ours that we tested was what? A terabyte? 512 gigs?
256.
Oh, really? That it?
256 or 512.
So you have this kind of permanently on your desk, but then you need to take it with you to go show some stuff to magical clients that may exist or may not. And you can take it with you, but you don't have to worry about taking the power cable if you just want to access the data on it.
Yeah, and it'll
you
just
don't need
work.
to access it at full performance. So
It's weird that I don't know, for 10 watts, you'd think it would be able to go full speed.
Well, it's 2 MSATA SSDs, a RAID controller, a Thunderbolt controller. That's
Yeah.
a lot for 10 watts.
yeah,
Yeah, it's probably some of the other stuff in there is
it
using.
also has the issue where you cannot pass Thunderbolt through. Right? It's a
just
terminating
one port. Yeah.
point.
Well, that and then the coffee heater on the top of the drive that you can put your.
Yeah.
It's a couple
oh, look, I
watts,
got
so-
disconnected. That's
That's
awesome.
that's only if you write to it a lot.
Yeah.
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 So, I don't know. If you're interested in that type of device and a hotel kicked me off the internet, that's great. How much was it? It was expensive. It was like $2 a gig. And that was our
Thunderbolt.
Yeah, that was our primary complaint.
But it's an external SSD that goes 700 meg per second
With power.
with
With external power, right? And so
I mean, you get
That's still pretty
USB
quick.
SSD, you get, what,
Yeah.
500?
Yeah.
True.
Doesn't require external power.
Well, in
It's
in
much
this
less
room,
expensive.
it would, because there's only one outlet in this entire damn place.
I don't understand that at all. There are literally 2 power outlets in this entire room, and I don't.
It's so out of code.
I don't.
No, what's out of code
think
is
they
what
did
we
that to
plugged
keep it
into
in
it is out of code.
So that's Pegasus J2. Interested in that. The other review that I posted up mid 14-hour drive last night was of the NVIDIA Shield. And this is a very unique, interesting product. It is from NVIDIA. It is not a graphics card. It is a mobile Android gaming system. I don't feel like I can talk about this in a compact enough manner to really make it useful. You definitely need to go check out the review. They talked about this at CES, and we probably BS'd about it for hours since then. The idea is they make ARM-based SoCs. Let's put it in a device that we make, right? So it's a game controller with a 5-inch 720p LCD touchscreen on it. It's a really good high-quality game controller. The only complaints like D-pad, buttons are nice, thumbsticks are nice. It kind of is a hybrid of Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 design on the controller.
What's the complaint on the D-pad?
It's mushy. It kind of feels like the Xbox 360 D-pad.
Oh.
So
is it
it's not that big. It's really not that big of a deal.
Is it proportional like buttons? Proportional?
Yes.
That's why it's
Powered by
mushy.
Tegra 4. This is the first device to ship powered by Tegra 4 SoC. That is their latest ARM15, Cortex A15 based ARM processor. It has 72 graphics cores in there, but they're not NVIDIA custom cores, right, Josh? They're just they're not. These aren't Kepler-based designs yet.
No, they're more in tune with the GTX 7900. It's separate pixels and vertex shaders.
Now, that doesn't mean you got the power of a 7900 in here, does it? It just means the cores are based on kind of what that design is.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. So, quick things about this. As an Android tablet, it's decent. But as you might imagine, for a device that is shaped like this, using the touchscreen like this is dumb. So doing typing on it, doing a lot of email, things like that, not ideal situation. If you browse, I would browse the internet.
It's really bottom heavy if you try and hold it like
But if you
that.
browse the internet, like here, I've got PC Part Picker actually loaded up. They did some cool things with like, the control stick scrolls around. I think the bumpers go back and forward, or you can switch between tabs that way. The buttons all emulate mouse clicks or mouse movements.
Can you turn it upside down? And will it?
They did an OTA update where you could do portrait mode. And if you think holding it like this is uncomfortable and ridiculous, holding it like this.
And then if you hold it
worse.
sideways, do the scrolls rotate?
I don't.
Like, can you then?
Yeah, let me drop that shield on your notebook.
No, they don't rotate.
See,
so
that's even more awkward.
So if you go like
have to
this,
go up on the stick while it's sideways.
yeah, that's just something they probably didn't think about. The reason they did that, honestly, is because there are some Android applications that require portrait,
yeah.
and you couldn't install them. That became a problem. So as an Android device, it's very fast. It's very it has a lot of performance. Like Tegra 4.
What version is it? Android 4?
4.22 or 4.21.
Nice.
I think the latest OTA actually put 4.22 on it. It's not 4.3 yet. It is as close to a clean Android device as I've found, with the exception of like a Nexus 7. And the only really thing they've added to it is this big glowy button in the middle that is the NVIDIA logo. When you push it, it takes you to like their NVIDIA Shield area, kind of subcontext menu, and it has 2 areas. It has games, it has a store, and then it has the PC streaming. And the games in the store are for Android applications. So this gets into the whole debate of what is the Android gaming market like? What is gaming on Android platforms or iOS devices, for that matter, really like? It's not great, in my opinion. There's kind of 2 ways to look at it. If you are a console or PC gamer primarily, and you're moving down to, hey, let me see what the Shield thing is like, you're going to be probably disappointed in what Android gaming is. If you're a person now who's comfortable with gaming on Android, moving to Shield is going to be like opening up all kinds of new doors, because now you have an actual controller, a high-quality controller to use with Android gaming. So, I played, what did I play a lot of? Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, Shadowgun, Dead Zone, Sonic 4. A lot of these games were actually really high quality. They were a lot of fun. And I had never really done a lot of Android or iOS gaming. So there's a lot of cool stuff they're doing there. The Shield store specifically is NVIDIA's attempt to push game developers to implement support for controller, buttons, thumbsticks, all that kind of stuff. Improve graphics, right? They want people to take advantage of the power that the Tegra 4 offers. They don't want them to kind of fall back to what the Tegra 3 has or something like that. And they've done a good job of kind of curating an ecosystem, right? So you can get Max Payne Mobile, you can get Bard's Tale, Burn Zombie Burn. They just launched like 5 new ones today. Arma Tactics is a pretty good strategy game on here. And some of them are good looking. Some of them are very interesting. The multiplayer, Shadowgun is kind of like an online multiplayer, first person or third person shooter. It's fun. It's interesting. But that depends on what your capability or desire is to game on Android. The game streaming, which I cannot demo here, is probably the most talked about feature. Oh, according to this, there are 2 PCs on this network that are capable of PC streaming right now. Somebody has a system called The Den, and one has Vigilante PC. I don't know what network those are on.
You could just surprise them.
Let's just see. So if somebody on The Den, there's a little pop-up that will show up on their PC. If they click Connect, I will be able to play their games.
Some
on
poor guy in the
Shield.
BYOC right now is like, oh, what? It's got in my way. And
It could, that's probably what it is, because it's interesting. In order to have that work, they have to have the version of the driver and GeForce Experience that came out like 2 days ago.
Yeah, but do you know how many enthusiasts just update drivers because?
That's true. So we'll wait and see if that happens.
Oh, look what they're watching.
PC streaming is
Shield your
actually
eyes.
works better than I expected. So the idea is they use GeForce Experience, which is an application that runs on your desktop with a GTX 650 or higher. You play a game. It simply emulates that a controller is installed to the system. It runs a game at 720p. It encodes it through the H.264 encoder on the GPU, very fast in real time. Streams it over a 2.45 gigahertz network connection, essentially, to this, and then you're streaming the game back and forth. You're getting the display here. It's getting your control sent back there, and it actually works surprisingly well. I expected it to be super latent. I expected it to be really hard to kind of get into playing any type of game on a 5-inch screen from your PC on this controller, but it actually works really well with some specific types of games. For example, Skyrim worked great, Dirt 3 worked great. Left 4 Dead 2 worked really well. The problem that I had with it is it's a 5-inch screen, it's relatively small. Games like, you can't play Battlefield 3 now thanks to Battlelog, but any other first-person shooter that you pick up a sniper rifle and the guy you're trying to aim at is really far away. So he's already pretty small on your 22 or 24-inch screen. On your 5-inch screen, he's going to be really small when you bring up that reticle. So, if you're holding it at a comfortable distance like this, it's really hard to see what you're doing. So I found myself very quickly kind of reverting to this, and it got a little uncomfortable at
reading
times.
glasses on.
Yeah.
Got cranky at you.
So it's... There's our guys.
Oh, hey, it's
Look,
beer.
yeah, bring it up. There we go.
It's beer 30.
I thought they had abandoned us.
no,
Come on in.
No, you got beer. You're allowed to come
Thank
in
you,
front
sir.
of the camera. Yeah.
Whiskey too, you guys want a shot? We got fresh shot glasses.
No, I'll just do the beer. We'll just do the beer. For now.
Thanks,
For
brother.
now.
Thanks, brother. What's your name?
Det, yes sir.
Outstanding work.
30 minutes later, I'm like, "Ah."
I don't have one, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's try Vigilante PC and see if he lets me play on his system.
So this thing
Thank you.
feels kind of heavy, but it also feels like kind of solid too.
Shots. Shirts. Shots.
It's like
Thank you, sir. So
I don't know if you wrote to this in the article or not, but it's like it feels balanced. but
it is balanced. No, I
you know.
I heard some people complain about the weight of Shield.
It's kind of dense. It's like if you took a 360 controller and a smartphone and you put them both together on a scale. It's basically about that weight.
Maybe a little bit heavier because
Yeah, it's a heavier battery.
3,000 milliamp hour battery.
Yeah.
And it's dense, but I think it actually feels good when your hands are
It's balanced.
on the triggers.
I mean, if
and
you tried to
the-
hold it up for a long time, you'd probably
Nah.
it might no.
Nah, it's fine. And now I can't find any more GeForce GTX PCs.
'Cause they'll-
That's disappointing.
The game is up.
So PC streaming works pretty well. It's still in beta. Not a whole lot of games are supported yet, but you can use Steam Big Picture mode and kind of support a bunch of different games that way.
So it's not broadcasting back to that over your Wi-Fi. It's got its own.
It's using Wi-Fi.
Okay.
It's using Wi-Fi, but it's NVIDIA controlled from point to point, right? So GeForce Experience. So the way it was explained to me is something like Miracast, which this also supports, is meant to never drop a frame. It's okay if it's a little bit latent.
Okay.
The PC game streaming says it's okay to drop a frame or two, be as fast as possible.
Okay.
Get that video there as quick as you can, get that reaction back from the controller as quick as you can, and back and forth. So, it's little trade-offs that it has to make. So like Miracast on this, even playing Sonic on this through Miracast to my TV is not a good experience. If you watch the video on our review, there's a good quarter of a second delay from where I move the stick and you see it move on the screen versus when it moves on the TV. That's awful. When we were doing PC game streaming and we did that same test, it was very, very close to matching.
Very fast, yeah.
Yeah. So it's $300. That's another potential problem. Can you convince people that they need to carry around another device with them, even though you can change what do they call this? The tag? The tag. I don't know what it is. But you can get
magnetic.
custom ones. It is magnetic. It's actually really cool. The first one they had clipped, and some of the demos broke, so they made it magnetic in the second revision. But it's got HDMI out. It's got what else has it got? Miracast talked about USB, headphone support. I'm kind of interested in it. I had to push for them to send me one, and it was one of those things where let me spend 2 weeks with it and see what I come out of it. And I actually took it on vacation, and those same 10 and 11-year-olds that were annoying the crap out of me, were super excited to play this. Though they were like, "Oh, I got to get one of these." Kids that were only iOS, iPod.
And their parents
users.
were incredibly thankful for you for showing
When
them.
I said it's only $300.
Only $300.
Crap. So yeah, well, it sounds expensive when you compare it to like a PS Vita that's $50 less, or Nintendo DS, which is like $100 less. But it's not expensive if you compare it to what a unsubsidized Galaxy GS4 costs.
True.
Right? This is a $600 phone if you don't sign a 2-year contract, and you're getting better hardware, newer hardware with a controller, larger battery, Miracast support, PC gaming support for $300. So I think part of that hurdle will be, are people willing to pay for a mobile device in a way that most Americans have never paid for a mobile device before? They're used to free or $99 thanks to Verizon, AT&T.
There's no camera, right?
There is no camera. That's little stupid. Because this would be a great Skype machine.
I think that's what I was
Sit
just
it on
thinking.
your desk, camera points at you, you can see that other person, but there's no camera.
Yeah.
Shield
don't know
2.0
why. I don't
patented
know why.
now.
It doesn't make any sense to me why there's no camera on there. They might have thought it was going to ugly up the bezel or something like that, but I think that was a mistake. But I don't think it's a big enough one that it's going to cause people to buy or not buy one way or the other. So we have 4 or 5 videos. We have a video of us controlling the AR drone Parrot device with it. You can actually fly it with that. With the control sticks, it's way better than using thumbsticks. We demo game streaming, we demo Miracast streaming, and we show you all the little accessories you can get with the cases and that kind of stuff. So I've talked about that for too long.
How long does the battery last?
So they claim gaming battery life will be 4 to 5 hours. The web browsing battery life was about 16 hours, which is pretty good. I think that's better than our Nexus 7, which was Tegra 3.
It's a big battery.
It is. It's a huge battery, right? And it also has, I don't know if you can see, there's a vent on the back here. It has a fan as well. So it's actively cooled, which the performance metrics of this are awesome. Like it beats Tegra 3 2 or 3, 4x. And it beats the Snapdragon 600 that's in the GS4 here by a healthy margin as well. But it's doing that without the same kind of thermal constraints that the phone is under. So if and when we see a Tegra 4 in a phone or a tablet, it'll be interesting to see how performance.
So unlike the Galaxy S4, it won't clock itself up for benchmarks?
Oh. I don't know. It may. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked at all that stuff
Benchmarks
yet.
were not the only thing that upclocked for.
Yeah, I know. So that's a Shield review. Check that out. We had some questions here earlier about the new AMD frame pacing driver. Today's July 31st. By the way, it's Josh's birthday, everyone. He's 29 years old. Totally not.
I'll take that Rogaine now.
This was the day that AMD promised to have the new frame pacing driver for Crossfire users. It is not out today. I can tell you for sure it will be out tomorrow because that's when I've been told I'm allowed to publish my article about the driver. I can't tell you what it is. It's a very big improvement. The article will be up tomorrow that looks at all the benchmarks, what it fixes, what it doesn't fix, how well it fixes what it does, and I think it makes cards like the 7990 and 7970 Crossfire a much more palatable experience than I would have ever said before now. And AMD hates me for it. So
I just like how it makes your charts prettier. You don't have this huge.
I don't have that big orange block of.
Here's AMD.
Yeah.
This thing taking up the whole thing.
So I mean, there's a lot of it in the story, but it's going to be turned on by default now. The frame pacing capability. So all those people that said that it didn't exist or
I'm glad that it's a default.
it was never a problem to begin with. Not only was it a problem, not only does AMD think that it was a problem, that they agree that now they're turning it on by default. So I feel a little bit of vindication, like, shut up and listen to me next time.
What does the option say? It's like, would you like to see all of your frames or half of them?
It just says frame pacing on or off.
Oh.
And they, hey, it's on by default.
love runs.
It's on by default. That's what I wanted.
I want runs.
I got what I wanted. That's what's important. So check out that article tomorrow.
It's all about you.
It's all about what I wanted. Yeah. What else happened? Do I really care? Nexus 7 hardware. It's not powered by NVIDIA anymore, right? It's I can't bring up my own website.
What's in it?
I don't know.
I think
can't
it's
click.
Downclocked S600.
A downclocked
Yeah.
X, so same part that's in this, essentially, nothing fancy. Google also announced the Chromecast media streaming device, which I picked one up of higher price than normal aftermarket. Thanks.
Are you
to
sure there's
early
not a
sellers.
brick in there?
Well, I did buy it off a guy at McDonald's that wanted to borrow my cell phone earlier today. So this is it. This is the Chromecast streaming stick. I don't know what you want to call it. It's a HDMI connection, a USB connection, and Wi-Fi 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. And you connect it to a TV. Is that true? The HDMI, like true HDMI 1.4, will power this natively? Maybe. We think it will. We don't have we tried it on one of our 4K TVs and it didn't do it. But it was the Seiki, so it still required USB power.
purveyor of
This would be a much
high-quality
more
panels.
interesting device if you didn't have to have USB power. But what it does is you can then, through your iPhone, your Android device, through Chrome browser extension, pass videos to it. You can play YouTube videos, Play Store videos, Google Music. You can stream tabs to it. It's kind of just an interesting way to, what do they say, send video or anything on the web to your TV from your smartphone, tablet, or laptop. The dumb thing, the really stupid thing that it does not do is if you have your computer hardwired to your network, it cannot communicate with the Chromecast. It has to be over wireless.
Where's that Price is Right fail horn sound?
I don't know what the technical limitation is that's causing that.
They need to fix it. That's the technical limitation.
But you would think it's an IP address. If it can see it, it can do it. But I don't know if it's doing wireless to wireless communication. It could be doing something like Wi-Fi Direct, and I don't really know. But I don't know. You know what? You do have to connect. It creates its own Wi-Fi network when you do initial setup. But even after initial setup, you can't stream anything to it. And we were trying to use this today to actually stream from here to our capture system, but we couldn't get it to work.
That's like almost a deal breaker for
This is
a lot of people.
$35.
No, I get it, but like the fact that it won't work with a LAN connected PC.
I think very few people
What?
have hardwired PCs in the mainstream world. I'd say if we look at desktop PCs versus
not at
laptops.
QuakeCon.
Well, yeah. This is true. I might be talking to the wrong audience here, but
You're obviously streaming the wrong content then.
well, it could be. For somebody like, so they're going to sell this at Best Buy. They're going to sell this at Amazon. I don't know,
Sure, why not?
someplace else.
It is cheap, but that should be able to go through a router. Really,
It is going through a router.
No, I mean
but not a hardwired connection.
yeah,
But so you guys all use hardwired connections for your home
like
PCs?
everybody in the room.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I expected that. I did, and that's why when I first got this yesterday before he left, I plugged it in, and Ken said it's not going to work. He's like, yeah, it is. He says, no, I read it's not going to work. Nah, they would be stupid not to do that, and then it didn't work. So, but it's a really cool idea for $35.
Yeah.
And if it's not sold out when you're looking, pick it up. It's kind of a neat toy to play around with. It's remember Google TV.
Remember
The Nexus Q2?
Well, they've
I
already-
mean, it's a similar.
They've already rooted that thing, so I'm sure someone will turn on that whole pass through the router to the hardwired PC.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. What about? I can't bring up the webpage for you to look at it. Did you read about the Asus ROG Raider?
I did
More
not.
of it came up.
you're the
Wait a minute.
SSD
That's
guy.
the one from. Well, we've talked about
That's
this in
from
the past.
CES, but I think it
So that's what
actually
they're calling
officially
it now.
launched.
They're calling it.
Well, the
The-
ROG
the
Raider.
ROG
It's-
Raider.
well, it's Republic of Gamers.
No, I get it, but it was
Raider.
just the Raider before.
Oh,
They didn't brand it
it's a
under.
PCI Express based SSD.
Yeah,
I
so it's
don't
going to be
know.
for their super high end. Are they actually going to sell it in the States? Because before they weren't going to.
Oh, really?
Remember?
They haven't really said. By the way.
I think
story
this is.
before
I think
was-
this is a bunch of news that got posted on their Facebook page
Oh.
that maybe should not have been published as early as it should.
Oh, one of
have,
those.
But
Okay.
it was interesting to see. I'm trying to see if I could find this.
Well, it's convenient because then I know to ask them for sample first.
Yeah. So
I mean, the design looks pretty sweet. And it's
the industrial design does look good. The red and black. I love
Yeah.
the red and black design. They're talking about 100,000 4K IOPS. That doesn't sound that out of the
not
world
that-
anymore.
Yeah, that's not that high for PCIe SSD.
I don't know. RAM disk software.
It's probably just a RAID on a board with a couple of SSDs behind it.
No pricing or availability specifics.
Did
Six-
you say
600 bucks,
RAM
yes.
disk software?
I did.
Can it support up to 1 terabyte on a 256 gig drive?
No, no need, no need. So not much interesting there, Josh. We had down here that the AMD A10 6800K. That's a Trinity, right?
No,
Richland APU clocked at 8.2 gigahertz.
Yeah, I think it's the new world record for a CPU.
Why?
I don't know. Why not?
All right.
Interesting that it's still 32 nanometer SOI. The big thing about this is all the other previous records. I
Yeah.
thought I heard something just spill.
No, that was my pocket, but ignore it.
What?
I got candy in there. We'll talk about it
Do
later.
you tell that to all the
There's a
little
white-
girls?
there's a white panel van
there's
out back,
candy in
too.
my pocket. Yeah.
What do you think we drove here to one?
Here, let's open this for Ken.
Yeah. No.
So anyway, 8.2 gigahertz. What's interesting about it is that
It's using both modules. Previously, they had used some Bulldozer and Vishera CPUs to get up around that level.
Right.
But they had to disable 3/4 of the entire CPU. This one, they're running both modules with the graphics probably disabled, but still, it seems like it's running a little bit better. AMD's getting some better results from the fabrication process from Global Foundries.
Let me ask you this, completely unrelated.
Okay.
What was your takeaway from the 220 watt Bulldozer release?
Space heater.
Vishera, yeah.
It's interesting. I wouldn't buy one.
Sells
but-
well in Siberia.
So they didn't send us one,
No.
which they never don't send us processors, and to me
they
it
do
was-
now.
it was- well, they do now. So I saw some of the benchmarks, I saw some of the reviews, and it was running less than a 3770, less than a 4770. Obviously, it was how much? $800.
Yeah, $800. or
AMD
so.
wants to charge you $800 for a processor that uses 220 watts and can't match the performance of a $300 Intel part. That sounds like something Intel would do.
It is kind of odd, and I'm not entirely sure what AMD is thinking, but I don't think that there are all that many parts in the wild. Certainly, they've sent a bunch to SIs, and
Yeah.
they're going to sell them as prepackaged products with water cooling because it requires water cooling. Even just the basic, like an H100, 220 watts. That's like a video card.
We should ask Jacob about that.
Yeah.
What's it like to cool 220 watts?
With a big fan.
Yeah,
Big fan
it's
and
not
about
easy.
3 pounds of copper.
It's not easy, and that's with when you have full control over PCB and heatsink layout and all that kind of stuff. When people are used to just buying a bare processor, putting it into the cheapest motherboard you could buy, putting 220 watts through that power circuitry.
I'll take that 4 plus 1.
Yeah. $38 FM2 board, or not FM2, AM3 board, and this will work. Where's my stock heatsink?
Where's oh, there's the magic smoke.
Okay, I don't know what else to say about that.
Stock heatsink is a pool of molten aluminum.
Would be.
I don't think it's going to get to 1,500 degrees on a $30 motherboard.
It would catch on fire first.
On fire.
Without the thermite.
Yeah.
Intel Ivy Bridge E processors are rumored to be available in September, starting at $310. This is the updated LGA 2011 platform. Now, when I say starting at $310, don't get super excited, because it would be the 4820K. It's a quad-core part, base clock 3.7, boost clock 3.9. 3.9 gigahertz, I should say. 10 megs of L3 cache, 48 PCIe 3 lanes, and quad channel memory controller, very similar to what Sandy Bridge E is. Pretty modest upgrade. The highest end part would be the Core i7 4960 Extreme Edition, 6 core, 3.6 base, 4 gigahertz turbo, 15 megs of L3 cache. The same lanes, quad channel memory, $990. So let's compare Ivy Bridge E 4960 against AMD's FX 900 series card, similar in price range. Hey, it's much closer to the thermal levels of AMD's
what,
card.
150 watts?
I think it's about 150 watts. But I bet performance would be different.
Just a small amount.
So if you have an LGA 2011 socket, there is hope for you yet that you may actually see an upgrade option for you at some point.
What'll they be doing about the PCIe 3.0? With the older boards.
I don't really know, to be honest. Now, Asus this week released BIOS updates for some of their LGA 2011 boards to support Ivy Bridge E. Remember which chipset was it that could do PCIe 2 and PCI 3, depending on how...
Z77 or Z67? 68.
Z68, I think it was. They
But
could
nobody
do,
ever.
It was spec'd at
nobody did
2.0,
Yeah.
but a lot of vendors, I remember Asus in particular having an event saying, hey, we can do PCIe 3. We can overclock it. It's just as long as it's within the limits that it needs to be, it can run a PCIe 3. And I'd imagine that's what they could do here. You don't need the PCIe 3 for most use cases.
Not
PCIe
really.
2 bandwidth would be enough, especially considering you're talking about 48 lanes of it. We're eager to get Ivy Bridge E into our office to take over a lot of duties on the streaming side of things when we've got four instances of Skype encoding and going backwards, and then trying to do 3 upstreams and a recording locally and stuff like that. We need that type of compute power. But again, $900 processors are always a tough sell. Anybody here have $900 processors in their system?
How many?
I mean, there's going to be some,
One.
but it's not a lot.
One guy.
I do
And oddly
have.
enough, he's the one guy who actually gave Ryan money.
Oh, well, yeah.
So obviously he's got it spread around.
We will have an Intel 3960X to give away Saturday at the workshop, actually. So you could win one of those $900 processors. No motherboard to go with it. You have to figure that out on your own. So I think that's pretty much all I have for the news here. Was there anything else that crept up that you guys thought of while I was gone?
I think everybody in Taiwan's been on vacation.
Yeah.
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 Well, I was on vacation. That was nice, too. But how about this? Is there anything... We're a little bit under on our normal ranting and raving time. And
We can go on 10 minutes begging everybody to come down to QuakeCon.
Well, if they're not already in the area, I think it's going to be a tough sell.
Get in your car, drive to Dallas. Fast.
We did it in 14 hours. We drove from northern Kentucky to Dallas. We left at about 8:45, 9 p.m. Got here at what time? About 11 a.m. local time. So 14-hour drive.
I had to work today and then jumped in the car and came here.
Did you drive 14 hours?
No.
I don't want to hear about
San
it.
Antonio, it's a little ways away.
How long? 3.5?
That's the way I drive.
Yeah, see, 3.5 hours. So yeah, I'm assuming everybody that is here is going to come to the workshop Saturday. as well. All right. Do you guys have any questions or thoughts or ideas you want to throw at us while we're sitting up here with microphones in front of us?
Nothing you want recorded.
Well, that's fair enough.
You can tell me later.
This is live streamed. It's a modestly family event. Not really, but go ahead.
So, I'm a PC gamer, have my own tower, of course.
Yep.
But for work, I have a MacBook Pro. Runs Mac.
Sure,
whatever.
sure.
I've been trying to find a Thunderbolt to SATA adapter, something like externally, so I could take an old SSD I have, like X25M, 120 gig, throw Windows on it, throw it on that, and so I could take that easier on the plane.
So you want to take a older SSD, SATA-based, and run it on a Thunderbolt connection on your Mac
As inexpensively as
as
possible.
inexpensively as possible. I have not seen those.
Those
adapt-
are all expensive. It's
I was going to say, it's Thunderbolt that's expensive.
I mean, the cable is $40.
you're better off USB 3. honestly.
Does the Mac Pro doesn't have?
USB 2.0.
Yeah, the upcoming Mac Pros will have USB 3, but that won't help you. USB 2 sucks because it goes about 35 megs a second.
Yeah.
Seagate makes.
Seagate does have that. That's right. Seagate will sell they have a Thunderbolt to SATA adapter. I think that was probably $60.
It may be upwards of 100.
Oh, wait. You mean the base for their external drive?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can cheat.
Yeah.
You can totally
You
cheat.
can get just the
It won't-
adapter.
You can get just the base because what happens is their external drives are shells that have the SATA, the standard SATA at the bottom.
Might have
and they
one in
just
my bag.
clip in. So if you're comfortable with your SSD just sort of
Yeah.
chilling there, but only by the connector
I duct
with
tape
nothing to
SSDs
support
to
it.
my systems.
You can't duct tape this though. It's literally hanging on the. It's standing on the end.
Oh, you're talking about that one. We're talking about one that is, if you buy a Seagate external drive, it has, I forget, the Flex.
We're
Go
all
Flex.
talking about the same thing.
It's GoFlex.
We're all talking about the same thing.
Are you? You're talking about like something resting vertically. I'm not-
Yeah.
There are two different types. There's one for
Okay.
the desktop and the external.
So
it's like $85.
It's called GoFlex, so you can get an external 2.5-inch hard drive, and then you can swap off. Do I want it to be USB 3 based, Thunderbolt based, eSATA based, right?
there's different connectors.
We bought those when USB 3 was first coming out. Because like, oh, this is great. Now I can do exactly what you want to do. I can take this bare SSD and use it as essentially a really big USB thumbstick, right? Connect it, use it, move it around. That's how we move our Steam libraries from system to system when we need to do that. And they do offer that for Thunderbolt, you're right. But I have no idea.
It's like $85. I just looked it up.
Okay. So
It
you
is
can
kinda
absolutely do
pricey.
that. And the benefit with that is you can use that with any SATA device going forward, right? Whether it's with a hard drive, if you actually had a 3.5-inch hard drive, you'd have to have external power to get that to work, right? But for 2.5-inch drives, spindle and SSD, I don't think you require external power. So, yeah, it looks like it's about $86.
The one that's the base dock that's for the vertical standing one comes with a power brick and it has a plug in the back of it.
Okay. Yeah, this is what we're talking about here. And I don't think it comes with a Thunderbolt cable.
Of course not.
It's $86 and it doesn't come with a cable. Hooray! Yeah. It's
That's
called
kinda
the
pricey.
Seagate External Thunderbolt Adapter. Creatively named. All right. Anybody else? Sure.
Hey, with a shield.
Oh, we have
He's
a
got a
microphone.
microphone. Look,
right.
this is high class.
We
with the-
moving up in the world.
With the NVIDIA Shield, you think that will actually take off? Because you can get, like, everyone has a smartphone, and you can get something like the Moga Pro, which is essentially
Controller.
the base part of a Shield, and you can just pop your phone in there. Do you think any game developers are actually going to take advantage of that hardware?
How much is that other?
It's like $60-$70
For the
You can get 'em at
controller
Best
adapter
Buy.
part.
It's just pretty much the base, and then it has a little thing you can slide your phone in there, and it
Well,
can
you
fit
won't-
up to like a
You won't get
6-inch phone.
You won't get the streaming.
You don't get PC streaming.
Yeah,
right?
you don't
I mean,
be-
that's
But a real PC gamer is not going to use that.
yes, you have to be at home.
So like you'd walk downstairs, like
You
make
could
coffee.
maybe you're using the bathroom. You want to take your Call of Duty with you as you go. I would say I think this product has a lot of uphill battle to go through. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I found
Hey, do you know that there's nicely rendered shampoo bottles in Call of Duty, of course?
no idea what he's talking
So
about.
is there a clip?
Read the back of shampoo. Good
So-
Lord.
clip-on toilet paper dispenser for when you take this to the bathroom?
Nice. No, I think This impressed me. I didn't find that button anywhere. This impressed me a lot more than I thought it would with the PC streaming stuff. How useful it will be over a longer term. Keep in mind, I've only had this for probably 10 days, 2 weeks, and a lot of it was, hey, this doesn't work, bug fix. Hey, this doesn't work, bug fix. Let's get it all worked out. How many different colors of this can we get? That kind of thing. The really important stuff. It's a great build quality. I don't know how many people are going to be excited about spending $300 on a brand new device that is dedicated specifically for that purpose because of how much this does that you're going to have with you all the time anyway. The issue is this is a better email device. This is a better web browsing device.
He's holding a phone.
Than this. Yeah, sorry if you're listening to the audio. I'm holding up a Galaxy, and it does things better than this. But if you've ever tried to play a dual stick shooter game on a touchscreen device, it's awful.
Yeah.
It just sucks. No, I don't. No, it sucks.
I think plucking nose hair is better than that experience.
It doesn't work. It's nowhere near the experience you get with this. But is it worth $300? And keeping this in my bag, or not forgetting it on the bus on my commute to work, those types of things. Is it worth having to have another device that you need to make sure is charged? Is it another device that your kids can drop and break and destroy? And
How long does it take to charge?
Not very long. I mean, it comes with a 10-watt charger, kind of like the iPad 3 does.
Okay.
And it does fine in that regard. It has some cool capabilities. The Miracast, but that's not unique to that. It has HDMI ports, not unique to that. But I really like the device, but I don't know if enough people are going to want to spend $300 for it. I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of have a question that ties into the Shield, and that would be, would it have been technically feasible for them to kind of like shift the hardware around and somehow make the screen like detachable from the controller? Because then that would have been like the cat's tail. I would like buy 6.
So you're talking about let's take this and it docks in there.
Yeah, and somehow move.
You're
the
talking
hardware
about what
around.
he had there. So
Yeah, but Shield style.
probably, but there would have been a lot of trade-offs, right?
Battery life.
So you're talking about where does the battery reside? You can do that with some tablets where there's battery in both the keyboard dock and in the tablet
Yeah.
part itself. I think you lose a lot of the capability to do a good like industrial design, a good high quality build, something that feels robust. If you come up here and you use this and you open the hinge, you close it,
And the
move
screen
it,
falls off.
shatter. No, it
Well, it could have, like,
it
an
feels
inner-
like it's going to take some.
They could have it in such a way where like kind of interlocks so it would have like a little port on the side of the screen so you could.
If only they could just use magnets.
I think a better example would be what's that called? The phone pad or the pad phone? One of those things. That to me locks you into an upgrade cycle, right? At least with this, you're not going to upgrade. Like this is the gaming device you're going to have. It's like buying a Vita or buying a 3DS. The phone pad or the pad phone, I don't know which one is which. Where you take a phone and dock it into a tablet that has more functionality. You're asking for the same thing. Can we take a phone or something like this, dock it into a controller with extra battery, but now can you get that same compute power, that same graphics horsepower in this, right? You can't have, well, I don't know if I can't say you can't, but it would be much more difficult to say, oh, well, let's add another SoC in here that takes over when now you're doubling your costs in that area. There's a lot of things that maybe they could have done, but
It's kind of like Homer Simpson in his car he designed. All the features that he wanted.
Hasn't NVIDIA already stated that they're going to do a refresh of it every year?
I don't know about every year, but they did say
Remember it's something at CES
when they talked about Tegra 5 or whatever they called it. No, this is the next one that comes Kepler. Somebody asked, will this be in a future Shield device? I said, absolutely. Now, if this were to flop horribly, maybe not.
Yeah, probably not.
But, they really feel that Tegra is important to their company moving forward. And sometimes you got to make people go in a direction if they're not trying to go that way on their own, right? So it will be interesting to see. I'll be very curious to get all of your feedback when you go to the exhibitor area and try it, play it. Get hands-on with the Shield.
And I was really looking forward to.
Yeah. You'll have Shield. They'll have Android games and they'll have PC streaming. right? So you'll get to try all that. And they might cheat and use a hardwired Ethernet connection for your PC streaming, but that's because of when you're at exhibits and Wi-Fi doesn't work very well for a lot of that stuff. But your feedback would be interesting in that regard. Would you pay $300 for that? It's tough to say after sitting there for 20 minutes using it, but I think a lot of us have made stupider mistakes for $300 as well.
Beer guy in the back has a question.
All right. Yeah, no, now you gotta wait.
See, we're really high latency around here.
Yeah, we don't drop frames, but
So this year marks my decade of QuakeCon attendance.
congratulations.
Over the last 10 years, I was looking for that. Thanks. Over the last 10 years, I've dueled various vendors, a lot of the id execs, a couple of guys from Zenny, and I'd like to challenge you to a duel. One match, 10 minutes, DM6, no score cap, in the BYOC. After
Have
the
you
workshop.
seen me play?
So I guess you're not familiar with the clan, but come 10 minutes after the workshop.
Have you guys
Okay.
played against
That's fine.
when we were doing online?
I've gotten my ass beat by the best of them. I am not shy.
And we're not
about
the best of them. We're the drunkest of them. So
oh,
are you in? Can we accept this?
Yeah,
we
sure.
got to study a little more.
All right, we're gonna.
Is this you want to do this on Saturday?
I want to do this right after your workshop. So as soon as you're done, I know it takes a few minutes after everything closes
yeah.
up. So
Are we
we'll
good
hang
after
Is
out.
this at the BYOC?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
It's a clan
fine.
event, so be prepared to clap it up.
Okay, sure, fine. Can I wear?
Is
Can I
that
wear?
a positive thing?
Can I wear these
Clapping it up?
glasses?
It's clapping it up.
I went to a prostitute
Oh,
the other
man,
day,
bro.
and we clapped it up.
You don't know the Shirtless Quake Clan? We've been here for 10 years. We're the Shirtless Quake Clan. You ready for this? I mean, your glasses are cute.
the naked guys that walk around. Okay.
You accept? You said yes.
You know, I think Tom was hoping to join that group this week too.
You gonna join? We'll jump in.
Tom Peterson, he'll join in. that too.
NVIDIA, Tom.
I'll get. Yeah, sure. We can do that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna wear these though, because then when I lose, like, yeah, it was the glasses. I
That
had
increases the dynamic contrast
a
of the
little-
monitor you're using.
little bit of a seizure while I was playing. So, anybody else? Hopefully not challenging
We know
me
you
to lose
guys.
at video
We know you
games.
guys got some questions. It's the fastest you're gonna get answers. this
Back
year.
to the Shield again. I'm sorry.
Uh-oh.
I just really wanted to know about the portability factor of it. Do you think that would hinder anybody buying it?
It does weigh 13 pounds.
Is that really true? I was going to ask, how much does it weigh?
It's got depleted uranium in there.
Yeah.
So
Sit down.
Does it feel well in your
So,
hands?
No, it does. Portability is different than comfort while you're holding it. I think it's comfortable to hold. I had no problem watching a movie on it or playing a game on it. Portability. So this does not come with it, but this is like the kind of protective case that I would recommend anybody that would buy one would buy, and it's not a thin, sleek device. It's kind of if you've ever had like the Bose noise canceling speakers, it's a very similar size, depth case to that, a little bit shorter, obviously, but it's bulky, and I don't have a purse. I have a backpack, and even that's not it.
speak for yourself.
Even when I had my backpack, I'm used to sliding my laptop in, my iPad in, Nexus 7, whatever it is. These thin, kind of narrow devices. When you put this in there, it adds a lot of bulk to things. It's not super heavy. I mean, you can come over here and hold it up and see if you can, it's got a. Do you even lift, bro? It's got a wrist strap, so you can walk around like this all day if you want.
Oh no.
Right? Huh?
It's nice. It's a nice accessory.
I think that will be a hindrance.
Hey, would you slip that into my cargo pocket? I've been drinking all night long.
I know. Trust me, I know. I think portability and the desire to not have to carry another thing. Yeah. I think that's why games on phones are very popular, is because I already have this thing. It's already in my pocket. I have it with me all the time, 24 hours a day. And that's why PS Vita DS are kind of a little bit in decline. The DS actually sold really well this quarter, thanks to a lot of game releases. But it's not... You can't put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
You're wearing track pants.
Yeah.
Why are you wearing sweatpants?
Dude, you're
So you have to purchase track pants with your Shield.
If you wear cargo shorts, you could probably get away with it.
Alan, you're Italian and you wear tracksuits.
There was a guy on Saturday Night Live.
It's like a Grand Theft Auto game over here.
That's every Italian. Sorry.
It's not. I mean, it's not super thin. It's like I like the industrial design on it. I think it looks neat. I think it feels good when you're using it. But
Oh, look, it's got a little port in the back.
Yeah,
that
it's
you
a
can-
little
the
door.
little case has a.
That's
kind of
like those old, long johns.
It does when it gets up in the middle of the night.
How much is that?
To go refill, it's power. It can do that.
How much is that case though?
Shit, I don't know, $30 or something. It's not cheap, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's nice. But
It is nice. No, it is. It's. They did a good job accessorizing it and making it a high quality thing. They didn't make it cheap, right? And I think at $299, it's still pretty good. Still a pretty good deal.
One follow up
There's
to that.
Maury.
Sit down.
Look, it's our.
Sorry. Like, does it come pre-installed with any games or anything like that? Like, do they give you any like chance to experience it before you have to go into the store and purchase
so
even more things?
It comes
to
with
actually-
Sonic 4 Episode 1 and Dead Trigger.
So is it going to be
comes with real
10
boxing,
years
which is
before
awful.
Sonic Episode 2 comes out?
Probably.
Or is that just
I think
out?
actually that's
Okay.
already out. But when you go into the Tegra Zone, there are a lot of free games. I mean, it's just like going into the Android. So the Tegra Zone store is just a
Subdivision of the
it's a
Android
subdivision
store?
of the Android store, right? So these are games that they have played, curated, have made sure that the controller works well, that the graphics work well, and that they think this provides you the best overall experience, right? So there will be free games. There are games that will be, I think I wrote in the article, go from free to $7.99 in that mix. So it's just like having an Android or an iOS device. You'll have the option to play around with what you want, and at least Android still does that refund deal, right? If you is it 15 minutes?
Yeah, it's 15 minutes.
No, play quick.
You can just say the game is crap in 15 minutes.
You can, yeah. I mean, I
But what
probably
if they have a sale and you have no time to actually get to it in that time?
that's your problem. I mean, this is the second Shield I've had. The first one I bet I had 40 Android games installed on, and they vary in quality quite dramatically, as you would expect. Some of them were very good. Some of them were really awful, and some of the ones that NVIDIA promotes are really bad. Some of the ones that NVIDIA promotes are pretty good. So you'll get a good chance to experience what it is. And when you go here, I think they're setting up like things at GameStops. There's Micro Centers in Dallas, I think, have them as well, where they're just kiosks where you can go play it and that kind of deal. So I realize, and I think they know this, it's $300 is a pretty significant investment to drop in something that is brand new, that you have no experience with, and they're somehow going to trust them to create a kind of a good ecosystem around it. You know?
I haven't seen a single TV commercial.
Well, it just came out today.
I know, but you'd figure that, you know.
Maybe I don't know if that's kind of their target marketing audience. You know, we'll see.
It won't be if they don't advertise to them.
Yeah,
Is my point.
close
Like,
to Christmas. We'll see.
We know about it because we've been go to all these
Well,
events.
I was at
and-
CES when they
Right.
made me sit there for 2.5 hours and listen about it.
Well, yeah.
But
After waiting an hour to
Yeah.
get in.
next, anybody else? Sure.
So I know there's been a lot of talk and research on 4K panels emerging, but when do you think we're going to see a 2560 by 1440 monitor at 120 hertz besides the Yamakasi Cat Leap 2B Extreme, which is like $700+ and you have to do some hacks?
I have no idea.
I don't see a big push for those just because people are gaming on smaller monitors at 120 hertz.
No, he's asking for a 27-inch, 25 by 14, 120 hertz. They exist, but you have to
Right.
get a panel and overclock it. I think we're probably closer than you might think. Maybe not this year. Maybe by this QuakeCon next year, 120 hertz at that. Because so at E3, I met with the CEO and some of the buyers at Monoprice, right? And they made this big decision to buy into the 25 by 14 panels. They're buying them in from Korea and reselling them locally with 1-year warranties for $390. These are 60 hertz panels, and they have some people in there that know what people want. To get the two guys that are kind of. So there were two guys that said to the CEO, "We need to buy a bunch of these," and he was like, "Nah, we sell cables." when you go from a company that sells 74-cent HDMI adapter to wanting to sell a $390 monitor, it's a pretty big jump for them. And they sold that first batch in 4 hours or something like that, right? And so now the CEO is paying attention, and they're a big enough company that they can get some of these Korean panel vendors to bin and poke around. I don't know if it'll be under $700 very soon, but I think 120 hertz, 25 by 14, 27-inch panel would be well worth $700 or $800 today, right? In terms of what you get over a $500 panel today,
Yeah.
even at that resolution. The
And-
120 hertz difference is impressive.
Yeah, and something to think about here is also the hardware pushing it. I mean, think back 10 years ago when we still were mostly gaming on CRTs. You certainly had at the higher end, you could lower the resolution, go up to 120 hertz. But you lowered the resolution and the graphics card with the applications at the time could do that. But then now we got widescreen monitors at 1920 by 1200, and those really started to flourish, and the 1080 made them even more. And you kind of look at the hardware and how we advanced from DX8 to DX9 to DX10 to DX11, and we're finally at a time where you have a single card that can power 3 monitors, 5760 by 1200, around that, and we finally have the stuff that can push the displays in terms of performance. Because I remember writing about human perception and what's a good like refresh rate and frame rate to give you the best experience, and I think it eventually came out to be 120 to 240 hertz is really good. But who had the stuff to be able to push these kind of frames in modern games? And now we've got these amazing processors that can do just a tremendous amount of calculations. And I think that we're going to see guys like AMD and NVIDIA really starting to push the display makers to start doing the more interesting things. These more retina displays that have more pixel density in the same kind of space, because they've got the hardware to push it.
It's incredibly frustrating for somebody like Jacob to sit here with GTX 690s and Titans and selling them to people who are only buying 1080p panels. A single 1080p panel, right?
Running at 60 hertz.
Thanks to TV,
Yeah.
right? And the inability for the display manufacturers to really kind of push forward. These GPU vendors are hungry for this, and I am as well. And that's why I was pushing that 4K. I bought that 50-inch 4K TV, and then I convinced, thanks to Twitter, for Asus to send me that PQ321 4K 60 hertz panel, and because the difference is astounding, right? A 4K 32-inch monitor is awesome. But one Titan's not enough if you want to turn everything up, right? If you want top quality texture levels and all that kind of stuff.
But I guess my point being is that now the underlying hardware is good enough to be able to push the pixels out, and they're trying to get these guys to get greater density, faster speeds, better quality, so that you have a reason to buy high-end parts.
Yeah, I think it's working. I mean, even in the tablet market, you've got 2560 by 1600 10-inch tablets.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right? And that kind of pixel density is
Because it's been really a long 10 years since LCDs became, pretty affordable. And the type of changes we've seen has been poor.
Matt will vouch for me. I just like to upgrade things. I've had my TV for what I consider an embarrassingly long amount of time, because it's a DLP, right? And it's like, well, nothing looks that much better. It's still 1080p.
How old is it?
7 years, 6 years.
Yeah, we were stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
But now I think we're finally getting to the point where a lot of the manufacturers are figuring out.
So
hey,
even though like the Seiki 50-inch 4K TV is not the best TV you can buy, it's important for that product to exist, to say, hey, Sony, selling your TV for $30,000 is not an option anymore, right? You can buy that TV for $949 on Amazon with free shipping, right? It's not amazing.
God, that free shipping just sold me.
Yeah, exactly. White glove. So those kinds of products push things forward, and even if we looked at the 39-inch model and it's essentially identical except smaller, that is $699. Right? So now you can get a 4K 30 hertz panel for $600, $650, and Now we're getting into that Asus monitor that is $3,500, and that's still pretty expensive. But considering what it used to be, I mean, the Sharp display launched at what,
$5 or $6.
$6,000, and it's the identical monitor. That was 60 days ago, right? So it takes that competition, it takes that next product for Sharp to go, well, I can't sell that for $5,000 anymore. They're selling the exact same product for $1,500 less. So it'll come down, and I would love to see 25 by 14 120 hertz, but I'd love to see 4K at 120 hertz. I don't know. Just
Well, you can play Counter-Strike
With
Source
it, I
at
can do-
that resolution in hertz, but
so the 4K monitor is a 2-tile display. Let's get a 4-tiled quad tile display.
You need that
Yeah,
for 120.
For 120, we can do that, right? Yeah, we've got that.
All out of sync with each other.
I will vomit 3 minutes into
DisplayPort-
last deathmatch.
DisplayPort
but
MST will
it's
fix
going to be
that.
worth it. It's going to look beautiful.
What's going to fix that?
DisplayPort MST. If you
okay.
properly implement
Multi-stream tech.
DisplayPort 1.2 multi-stream technology, it keeps all those in
Then
sync.
they're all in sync?
Yeah.
Alright.
So it's up to the driver to implement that correctly, but they have both fixed it since.
They have. NVIDIA fixed
have.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
AMD too.
Yay.
Sweet.
So you don't have that weird tearing in the middle of that screen. So
Yeah.
anybody else? Go ahead.
Making.
Are you gonna
Matt
run? Are you gonna
Matt's,
run?
Matt's going to run all
Run, Luke.
around the
If
block.
you had that horse hat on, you'd run.
You're right.
Question in regards to AMD. Actually, you were talking about their super awesomely reasonably priced $800 or whatever CPU it was.
Yeah.
Now I want to pick your brain for a second. Do you ever foresee a day where like AMD maybe will ever like be on top again? And it might help the fact that they kind of pretty much have their stuff inside of all the new consoles. So I mean, if they could maybe like, I'm just wondering if you ever foresee a day where they'll be like on top of Intel again.
Not with the $800, 200.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with the exception of this one, you know.
Go ahead.
It's really kind of going to depend on if HSA takes off at all. And that's an area where they have a big advantage over Intel.
For now.
Yeah, for now. And they've also have, the whole ARM conglomerate behind them in HSA. And we're starting to see a lot more development in OpenCL. They're going to start implementing some of these. What's Kaveri, I think, is the first AMD product that will be fully HSA compliant. Next year, we'll probably see some ARM processors that will feature HSA.
Yep.
So it's really going to depend on the software environment, because in terms of IPC, we're starting to hit some real limits. And you can only, you're going to squeeze so much blood out of a turnip.
You can only add so much more L3 cache.
Yeah,
You can only
yeah, and-
adjust TLC.
Yeah, and I mean, what they've done instead of IPC for the most part is add more cores. I mean, AMD has 4 modules, 8 threads. Intel has 4 modules, 8 threads, essentially, 4 CPUs with their hyperthreading.
Yeah. I think AMD has done a good job bringing the right people back.
I think they have.
I believe. I don't know if they'll ever. I don't think it'll ever be like Athlon, original Athlon over
and the Athlon 64.
P4.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are the days.
So AMD had every advantage in the world at that point, and they kind of floundered it. Maybe not, like we would have expected, right? Because Intel just has a crap ton of money. They'll figure it out eventually. I don't think it'll ever be quite like that, but I do envision a time where it's pretty obvious at this point that Intel's not pushing in that direction right now. They're not pushing higher IPC, higher power, higher performance as a total, just as CPU x86 performance. So the fact that they're slowing down on that regard, AMD has the right people in line. They'll probably creep up and come closer to parity. What's the next core coming up from them?
Steamroller?
And after that?
Excavator.
That is the one that I think. These are not transformers. These are
Yeah.
processor core
Yeah.
names. Although they would be. They are. They might be
Sweet
transformers too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Devastator.
that was the
That's 3
220
away.
watt part.
Yeah.
They better not run on AM3.
Pardon?
Are they ever going to up? If they're
No.
ever going to
No.
get above the
You-
990FX?
they've never announced it.
For the last 2 years.
Yeah, they've
Why
never
mess with perfection?
No, they've never announced it,
No?
and plus they want to go to APUs, and so FM2 Plus is going to be the next, and I think I can't remember the next code name of what's after Kaveri, but I think that's going to be a process shrink down to 22 or 20 nanometer.
Carrizo?
Yes, and it'll probably be like an 8 module plus GPU product. And then we're going to start seeing them creep up in IPC, creep up in just raw megahertz, and they're going to have the fully functional HSA enabled APU product with this. So that may be their next Athlon 64, but Intel is not standing still, and I think Intel learned their lesson kind of twice with the original K7 and then the Athlon 64 that. Good ideas come from other companies at times too, and if we get too enmeshed with, our kind of corporate culture here and think that we're going to be on top because we just have outstanding process technology and we have more fab space than anybody else in the world,
Both of which are true.
that they got really complacent with their design.
Yep.
And so I think that I don't think that they're going to let them sneak up like last time. But AMD does have certainly a lot more GPU experience by, gobbling up ATI. And even though at that time it looked like a bad decision, I think it's keeping the...
It took a while to come to fruition.
Yeah,
let's put it that
it's
way.
keeping the company afloat now.
All right, we got time for maybe one more. If anybody's got anything. No? All right.
We bored you enough? Sweet.
Josh kept talking. Trust me, we know how it goes.
Yeah.
I can see it in the live stream numbers too as we go through the streams on our.
Josh is talking. People are disconnecting.
So thank you guys for coming out. We really appreciate it. We expected one or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was going to be really embarrassing.
There's going to be like one guy in the middle with a horse head, and that was...
That's me.
And we drove him down here. So actually, he drove us down here.
What's the name of that song? With the guy with the
horse
helmet
head?
on. Starts off, he's dancing by himself, and then Harlem Shake. There you go.
There you go. All right.
Should totally do that in here.
So that's going to do it for us for this week. I don't plan on going anywhere for a little while, so that's a plus.
Yeah, right.
You're right. You're right. I did book a trip on the way down.
Well, yeah, you are going golfing sometime in August, right? September?
No. Like for a trip?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
No, I'm going to IDF in September. Other than that, I don't know what else is going on. So we will be back at our normal, thankfully separated locations for the show next week, I guess, right? Enjoy it while you can, Josh. Enjoy it while you can. Don't pass out.
That's not Downey.
All right, and for everybody who stuck around, I think I have some extra tickets for the raffle tomorrow or Saturday as well that we'll
Give you.
hand out. So
keep them in
thanks,
your wallet.
guys. See you next week.
Bye.
Yep. Wow, I've never heard applause at the end of our podcast before.
Yeah.